it's Liz from Heal at Home Pet Care, and this is day 4 of the pet food challenge, the 5-day challenge. So on day 1, we went through why you would transition your pet, some do's and don'ts. Day 2, we went through choosing the right foods for your pet. Day 3, which was yesterday, we went through choosing pet food labels. And today we're going to reboot your pet's digestion. So what that means is you want to transition your pet to whatever diet you're choosing slowly. You need to give them time to adjust their gut flora and give them time to enjoy the foods and try to figure out what foods they like and which foods they don't like. This is Lavinia, and she loves raw meat. You know, she will just gobble it down. If she gets a chicken neck, she basically just swallows it. Where my other dog, Paco, is kind of like, he likes if he gets some dry food or some other dehydrated raw, he loves vegetables. She's not a vegetable fan. So, you know, they have their different tastes and their different needs. And I try to honor that as much as I can. So you want to make your transition plan, and it's going to be a little bit of trial and error as you're going. So just go by your pet. Sometimes they just need a little bit of time to like a food. You know, if it tastes different to them, they're not used to it. She never used to like apples, and she took a few and would lick them, then she'd carry them around the house, and then she'd hide them. And now she'll just take them and eat them. So sometimes it just takes a little bit of coaxing and some repetition. And what you want to do is, as you're doing these transitions, we talked about it a little bit, is calculating their calorie needs. Okay. So this is going to be a gradual process. And if your pet refuses to eat the food you're putting down for them, just back off and give them a little bit of the food that they are used to and that they like. You don't want to make this a challenge in the way where you're really creating like a bad vibe around it. So for cats, they're a little bit trickier. They don't like change. You might need to force this a little bit, but in the beginning, just kind of, you know, just go with it. You might waste a little bit of food if you put it down and they don't eat it. But since I have dogs, it doesn't go wasted. But for my cat, it took months to transition. It got a little bit frustrating at times if I was in a rush, but, you know, I had to just keep that frame of mind that we would get there at some point. Some tips for cats is do not give them snacks. Get rid of all of the tempting snacks that you have around the house. If you have treats for them, just stop giving them. They're usually not good quality anyway, and it just encourages them to want that more and to crave that. Okay, so keep regular meal times for cats. They're kind of creatures of habit. They can get into a cycle, but if you keep regular meal times, they'll know what to expect. And if you put a new food down, keep it down for 30 minutes and then take it up and don't offer food again until the next time, they'll start to get into a routine that this is when I'm going to get fed, this is what I'm being offered, I better eat this at some point. So you can also, if they're a dry food only kibble eating cat, just take a new food and then use their dry food as sprinkles on top so that they're kind of getting the thing that they like with something new and it doesn't look as scary to them. I would also put out a bowl of food that they like. So if they eat dry food only and you offer free form during the day, take it up. And then at mealtime, you're going to offer some of their dry food, maybe a reduced amount of their regular dry food, and offer a new food. And if they eat their dry food, that's good because they got some food. If they don't eat the new food, it's not a big deal because they ate some food. But then for the second meal of the day, offer them their regular food again because you want them to get at least 1 or 2 full meals a day as you're transitioning. So just kind of work that balance. I also have a video on using an automatic feeder for your cat. So you can check that out on YouTube. And it's called, I think, What to Do So Your Cat Won't Wake You Up or something like that. But check out that video. I'll try to put the link in here. And that's a really good tool to use also when you're doing a food transition. And I would use the same food for cats. If you're starting a new food, use it for 1 to 2 weeks. Don't keep changing the foods daily because then you're just saying to them, here's a new food, here's a new food. If you don't like this, I'll give you something else later. So pick 1 or 2 foods, probably 1 food every 1 to 2 weeks, and just keep offering that food in different ways. If they like yogurt, you can put a little yogurt on top. If they like it cold or hot, you can try different temperatures. You can heat it up a little bit. Sometimes the smell encourages them. So just take this slowly for cats. Dogs usually aren't as picky, but there are some picky dogs out there, so you can use the same techniques for them. So a sample food plan week would be something like this, where week 1, you're introducing them to the food. You're just doing small amounts at a time, maybe putting it into 1 to 2 meals a day, a teaspoon or 2, or putting a separate bowl out of it, or using it as a training treat even. When they're excited about something, they might want to eat that even more. So do that for the first week. The second week, you're going to start the transitioning process a little bit more. So if you picked either you're cooking, or you're doing raw, healthy food, or you're doing a new commercial diet, the second week, you're really going to start that transition where the first day you maybe put 10% of the new food and 90% of the other food. And then throughout the week, you kind of increase those ratios. So it's maybe 20% and 80%, and keep doing that throughout the week. If your pet seems like it has any GI upset, any nausea, any diarrhea, just back off a little bit for a day or 2. So just go really slowly with this. Their gut bacteria is changing, and it can be really helpful if you can add some kind of probiotic either ahead of this start of transition or during the transition to help them. And things like apple sauce, it has pectin in it, so if your pet's having diarrhea, you can add a little bit of applesauce or a little bit of pumpkin to it, and that can help to reboot their digestion. For week 3, so for dogs, you can just continue this transition, complete the transition during that 3rd week, and just kind of continue that for a week or 2 before you introduce something new. If your dog really has like a good GI system and can handle new foods or is used to doing it, you can start adding little things in or adding a second diet. But I would just go slow so that you know if something changes, you know if it's the food or not. For cats, you might just have to continue with week 2 or even week 1 for another week or 2 until you get that full transition down. For week 4, it's the same thing. You're either just going to continue with that transition or add a new food into there. So before even starting this, you want to make sure that your pet can, if you're going to add fish oils in, if you're going to add probiotics or yogurt, if you're going to add a digestive aid, if you're going to add a new fat into it. You want to maybe do this all a little bit at a time, so actually changing commercial foods from one complete commercial food to another, you can do it over 3 to 4 weeks. If you're adding in little foods or doing cooking for your pet, it's going to be a little bit of a longer transition. So those are just the basics of doing this transition. And as you continue, if you're doing cooked food or even if you're doing commercial food and you want to add in things like cooked liver once a week for your pet can be really beneficial for them. If you want to add in an egg 1 or 2 times a week for them, whether again it's cooked or commercial diet, those are really good additions. And if you want to add in chicken necks, things like seasonal foods, you can start to add in herbals and homemade treats and fruits and vegetables as you go along. And just keep in mind to keep it a little bit at a time so that you can monitor what your pet does along the way. As emergency food backups, I know I'm busy out working a lot of the time and I get home late at night. I don't always have time to either cook or prepare a meal. And I always have a backup of canned chicken in water or canned sardines in water. You don't want these in oil because the oil can really cause GI upset, as we've said before. I have things like oatmeal that you can just cook up, that cooks up really quickly, even in like a few minutes. You can have canned baby food, either like a meat-based baby food. You can also have a vegetable like a squash or a pumpkin baby food to add to the food. And those are high quality. A lot of times they're organic and it's just 1 or 2 ingredients in there with no other fillers or byproducts. And you can also have a can of food. I would always have a good quality canned food as a backup for my pet. Number 1, they love it. You know, it's a little treat for them, and we all like a little treat once in a while. And secondly, it's easy for you to do if you're in a rush or if you're traveling or something where you just can't get to that more high quality food that you planned for them. So your task for today is to go shopping. Make a little shopping list. Don't go crazy. I see people buy like 10 or 15 things that they want to try or add. Just kind of do your research and pick 1 or 2 or 3 things that you want to have on hand that you want to try over the next 3 to 4 weeks with your pet, and then start that transition slowly like we talked about. And what's coming tomorrow in day 5, it's the last day of the challenge, and we're going to talk about the benefits that you should be seeing when you start transitioning your pet to a more natural diet. So I will see you tomorrow and enjoy the rest of the day.